Hi, I'm Rebecca M. Carroll, and I am with
Jacob Heeren.
Jacob. So, you're in a uniform. Tell me about that.
Well, my title is Staff Sergeant Heeren. I'm a Staff Sergeant in the United States Army. I've been in the Army. It'll be 15 years this October. I originally joined out of a small town called Bloomfield, Iowa, southeast corner. Population approximately 3,500 people. Very small farming community. I joined the Airborne Infantry when I was 24 years old and been doing it ever since.
Yes, that's crazy that you jump out of planes. I mean, it's not crazy. But why did you choose that? Why Airborne?
Because one, I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie.
Okay.
I like the rush, and it was a stepping stone. I tried out for the Army Rangers.
Okay.
But for one reason, I didn't make that. But there's only a few places you can get stationed in the Airborne. There's only 4 duty stations. You have Germany, Italy, Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and Anchorage, Alaska. And I really wanted to go to Alaska. And fate would have it that I spent my first 8 years of my career in Alaska.
Oh, that's great. So now you're here, you moved to Boise, you're one of the recruiters. So part of the Coaching Educator and our services is we work really closely with recruiters, and I was very, very happy to meet his lovely wife at a networking workshop that we were at, and she was telling me about her Army recruiting husband. So tell us the difference, because many of our students look at ROTC and enlisted. My son enlisted in the Navy, so I'm a big fan of looking at what works. So tell us about the Army and what it's like to enlist, and what's the value of doing it, both what you found professionally, personally, and educationally, because we'll also ask you about your schooling, because I understand you're in school now. So tell us about that.
Well, the enlistment process is very streamlined. I mean, most young men and women don't realize is when a recruiter asks you to come in for an interview, it is a legit job interview. If Micron were to come up to you and say, well, you want to come in for an hour to talk about a job with Micron, most people would be like, yeah, that's great. Most people think the military is a second or third option down the road after high school or even into college, and it's a job interview. It's a federal job interview, which is going to open up a lot of doors.
And you don't take just everybody.
No.
Because it is a job. I mean, you get trained. They put a lot of training into the job, which means a lot of money into training someone. And so I agree. I mean, I know several people who thought that they were going to be an easy in, and it's not.
We are told by our chain of command, on a national average, 1 in 12 are even qualified.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not anything major that's physically wrong with them, morally wrong with them, that we call them unicorns because they're the perfect applicants. They're very simple enlistment process, but 1 in 12. So when most kids and parents are like, oh, my son will maybe down the road, bet you dollars to donuts that they may not even be qualified.
Yeah.
And that's terrible. How many kids graduate every year?
So I know. And to me, so when I look at my son who's 30, who has been able to use the GI Bill for finishing his education, to be able to use money towards, I mean, they have all these deals for buying a house. I mean, he just, and gets hired wherever he has ever applied because of his military service. So I look at it as a win-win. And his experience was great. And it sounds like we just got done telling our stories to each other, because that's part of networking and looking at jobs. And I want to be able to have really good recruiters for my students to talk to. And that's important to me. Mm-hmm. So tell me about, you ended up in Alaska. You did you did 3 deployments?
3 combat tours, yes.
Okay. So when you get in the service, I want to debunk some of they made me sign and I didn't know what I was signing, because when I watched my son go through the process, and I have actually taken pictures and gone with students who are not living close to home, so their parents aren't there and I want to have someone there to support them. You have to go through so many. You have to have a physical. Yeah, and it's a specialized physical. You have to sign so many papers, and they were like 3 different stations before.
Yeah, it's like buying a house.
Yeah, so tell us about that, because I've never seen in my lifetime someone just get misinformed and signed in, and they had no idea what they were signing up for, because it seems like you explain it over and over again.
And at least for the Army and Army Reserve, the people I recruit for, yes, we go over it step by step. We're very thorough, we're very open, we're very transparent about the enlistment process. That's why I'm big on, if during an interview, if you have any questions, take notes, fact check me. I want you to go to va.gov to look at the GI Bill, the post 9/11 GI Bill, the Army Reserve GI Bill, and other programs like the Yellow Ribbon program that will help you with a secondary education. Everything done in our office is preparatory only. The enlistment happens at the federal building on 4th Street, the Boise MEPS. But everything, so if someone comes in and I want to be a medic, the job's called 68 Whiskey, we have to get them test qualified, which is the Asvab. So every job that they can be qualified for is based off that score. So we just need a score of a 31, which is the minimum to get in. It's going to open up entry-level positions. But if you want to go for things like geospatial engineer, cybersecurity, higher-end jobs with more technical training, we highly recommend a 50 or above. Right. And that's going to open up those job opportunities. And with our branch, you're going to have it in black and white when you're ready to enlist and your packet's done. And so the next day you're going to go down to MEPS to do the physical and complete your enlistment. We reserve your job. It's in black and white, in writing. So once you get to the counselor at MEPS, if they say, well, you're signing up for a mechanic, and you're like, no, I have my job reserved right here. This is the job I'm signing up for. And if for some reason, because sometimes there is a glitch in the system, technology is not perfect, the career counselors down there will fix that. And if they can't fix it, they don't sign.
Yeah, that's
good. I tell them not to sign. And I have had, let's just say, many interesting conversations when I've told kids don't sign, because that's not the job they signed up, they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's gotten me into a little bit of trouble. But
but that is the right thing to do.
Yeah, I don't recruit just to make myself look good. I recruit because I believe to my very core that every person I put in the military, I am giving them the opportunity to springboard their career with the job they chose, the educational benefits, ability to buy a house with the VA loan where it doesn't cost you a penny. I mean, there's so many hidden little tips and tricks. Just being a veteran, do 3 years, I can get you over $71,000 for college, and tell me one person who can't get a 4-year degree on that much money.
Right.
3 years of life.
Usually it's 6 years you can get off. My son has hardly used any. I mean, he has hardly used any of the money. It's just really odd. He still has more, which is great. So you mentioned the reserve. So tell me the difference between, because there's the Idaho National Guard, the Army National Guard, the Army Reserve. So what's the difference between the reserves versus the other?
The template-wise, it's the exact same. It's 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summertime. So you still have to go through your basic training. Everybody has to go through basic training, and then you go to your job training. The difference is one is state, one is federal. Now, with the federal side of the house, because I know more about that than the National Guard.
You just talk about the Army.
The limited... the jobs are limited for reserves to what the state needs. Right. The National Guard has all 150 jobs, but the reserves is, so like at Gowan Field, there's 10, 15 jobs, engineers, mechanics, some admin, things like that you can go for. But when it comes to freedom of movement so this applicant joins reserves, gets into NYU, we can just transfer him on the federal side of the house to a reserve unit out there. The freedom movement is much easier than because people who join the National Guard sign a contract with the state. So they are bound to the state for those 6 years.
So if someone wanted to go to school and they were in the reserve and the school is in, say, Washington State, so they just have to let the unit know, and they find they just have to make sure they show up once a month, but they do get some funds for going to school.
Yes. So if an applicant is joining and they've all been accepted to University of Washington, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before they enlist, we will find them a job in Washington.
Oh,
they will
great.
enlist and ship out of Boise, and then they'll come back, and then they just move to Washington, sign into their unit, and that's where they drill.
So their obligation is it's not like the ROTC programs.
No.
It is enlisted. And then, so what happens after they graduate? So they graduate from college and they're in the reserve. Do they have the option, if they wanted to go full-time, to go active duty?
Yes. If they chose to, they just wanted to get their college education, and they want to join active as an officer, which a lot of young men and women do. It's just some simple paperwork. You go back in, talk to a recruiter, say, hey, I'm in the reserves. This is my job. I just got my degree. We do a conditional release form, and then it takes between 60 and 90 days, depending on the unit, because it's 1 week in a month. So you have to give them some grace period for that. Once that comes back approved, we do an officer packet, and then they go to an officer board if they're selected. Bam, they're now an officer on the active duty side.
Well, I know because I've had several students who have wanted to make sure that they're in the reserve because of the value of that.
Well, there's another program called the SMP. It's the Simultaneous Membership Program.
Mm-hmm.
So that is geared towards college-bound students. So with the SMP program, the first 2 years you pay with the reserve GI Bill.
Okay.
And then you at the same time, you're doing ROTC classes at the college that's whatever college you decide to go to, provided they have ROTC. Then you contract with the ROTC saying, hey, I want to be an officer. And then the ROTC scholarship, the 2-year scholarship, they get that. And then the ROTC, the Army picks up their education for the last 2 years. And then they graduate completely debt-free or very, very little debt. And now they're an officer in the Army or Army Reserve. And now they just own the Army for 6 years, and then they're done.
Right, if they choose.
If they choose.
But a lot of people stay.
Well, it's fun. I mean, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to get out when you get to do so many different things that civilians just can't, or they get arrested for. I mean, you can't play with some of the weapon systems we have because you have to have a very expensive Class 3 license to own and operate them.
So you're right now in recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
So what? Tell me some of the jobs you have had. So because you've been in 15 years, so give just as a smattering, what are some of the different things?
So my main job's infantry, but we're just not going to do infantry stuff. We're the jack of all trades. So I have been cross-trained in medical for combat lifesaver, how to sustain somebody in case they get injured, for all types of scenarios, not just in a combat zone. Tactical satellite communications and radio communications, explosives, linear breaching charges. Mm-hmm. I'm an electronic warfare officer, so I can fix the scrambling stuff in our trucks and how to stop the enemy from detonating certain ordnance on us.
Okay.
And that's just a few I can remember. If I had my, we call it a Love Me book, it's about this thick, of every certificate I've ever gotten. My Army driver's license, if it's got wheels or treads, I can drive it.
Oh, great.
I mean, I've been trained on just a ton of stuff over the past 15 years.
That's good.
And you always forget, if you don't use it, you lose it. I think I've forgotten more than I've learned. It's just, I've just done so many things.
So let's talk about part of what we do at the College Lightbulb is we illuminate what's going on with the educational world and the career world. And we want students and parents to understand just different paths that people take. So we ask 3 questions. So the first question is, what was your educational path? So we know that you went in, you wanted to go in, it didn't work out right out of high school. Mm-hmm. So you went to, talk about your education.
So when my first contract didn't work out, and I was able to pull myself out of my bubble of sorrow because my dream job had been literally ripped from my fingers. My family's all blue collar, a lot of the trades jobs, so we needed a heating and cooling technician in the family, so I went to a trade school at the local community college to become a heating and cooling technician. Did that, couldn't get a job in that so much, so started working 3 jobs, and I was like, you know what, I need to get out of here. I'm meant more for this world than just working 3 jobs and not having a life. So I was able to rejoin the military, and then education. You do your job training. You do other cross training and things like that. And then when I got down here and I had some more time, I started college classes with University of Phoenix.
Yep.
So started there. Most people don't realize this, but you actually get college credit for your military training.
Oh, yes, you do.
So
and you order the transcript.
Actually,
and it comes to you with, now that it's online.
Yeah. So when I signed up for the school, you just mark you're a veteran or active duty or whatever your status is, and that allows them access to the military education called ATARS.
Yep.
Every school is different. They pull in your information and they plug it into theirs, and it kicks out what college credits you have earned. So I got 3 credits for doing basic training.
Yeah.
9 weeks for me, having fun because, I like that stuff. 3 credits. I got 9 for Pathfinder School, which is a how to correctly make sling load operations to be carried by helicopter, or carving out a helicopter or a drop zone for soldiers.
Oh,
out of the middle of the wilderness, I can cut out a path to drop soldiers into combat. I got 6 for that, and that was a 2-week course.
Because I bet that went along with geology.
A lot of math.
And the mapping.
Yep.
And
surveying and things like that. So my wife was going to Colorado State at the time, and I was just like, it's 60. They gave me 16 credits. She's like, why don't you try out Colorado State? I was like, okay. So I applied for there. They gave me 68 college credits.
Yeah.
Total. So you need 120 for a basic bachelor's. So doing my job as a basic paratrooper, infantryman, I got 68 college credits with all my military training. So I don't have to do any electives. I'm doing only core classes towards my major.
Which is really nice.
And it's going to save me about 2.5, 3 years of time and a lot of money.
Yeah. So now you're going back to school.
Mm-hmm.
So you are a recruiter. This is your career at this point, which is basically sales. Isn't that what your wife
as much as I hate to admit it, it is.
So you could transition out and get into sales, or you're not sure. You had mentioned you're not quite sure what you want to look at, and you're in a business program. Mm-hmm. So the other question we ask is, if you were giving advice to someone on sales, in particular recruiting, so someone might be thinking, I would like to be in the military, and I definitely would want to be a recruiter. And what would your advice be? What would you suggest that they study or learn or do? What do you think they should do to be a great recruiter?
Honesty is the best policy.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely be honest. Anybody in the Army can be a recruiter. So if you can join the Army as a cook. Once you make the rank of E5 sergeant, you can actually volunteer for recruiting detail.
Okay.
So anybody can be a recruiter. It's not the most desirable job because it is very difficult. It has a lot of ups and downs, and but there are also good things. It's 9 to 5, 9 to 6. I'm not in the infantry. I'd be in the field for a month, not seeing civilization, just learning my trade. Same thing for other jobs. But being a people person is definitely big. Learning what kind of person you are. Are you introverted? Are you extroverted? Mm-hmm. Learning on how to break that because there's some recruiters that are really introverted and had to learn how to break out of that shell to talk to anybody and everybody. Speaking skills, because we talk all the time, and not just about the Army, but to kids about, hey, you want to go to college? Have you researched this? Have you looked at this school's graduation rates? Mm-hmm. What's the in-state versus out-of-state tuition? Giving them guidance on proper procedures into looking to whatever school and degree plan they want to go into.
And you also have to give presentations. You were telling me you're in high school. So which school do you go to in the area?
I was just reassigned to Bora.
Okay.
I did have Mountain Home.
I've had several clients. Isaac, who's filming us today, he's one of the interns, and he went to Bora. I have had a couple, so I think you'll like Bora.
It's I had it when I first got back here in 2014. I graduated recruiting school, so I could officially get assigned to school. So 2014 January, I had Bora for 3-4 months, And then we got several new recruiters. So we have Mountain Home to Meridian.
So you're in school, so you're at Bora. That's great. So what do you do at a school? Tell me a little bit about how your process is. Do you just set up a booth? What do you do?
Well, we do have table setup days where we just stand in the hallway or the quad or which has the most foot traffic to talk to students. Now, most Idaho campuses are open campus, so the people we want to talk to, the juniors and seniors, go off campus to get,
Which is
food.
amazing to me. That was never allowed.
Same here.
Yeah,
it was closed campus.
I can't even imagine it.
But we try to get into at least 1 or 2 classes 2-3 times a year to give an all-day classroom presentation to juniors and seniors, which is our target market.
Okay.
We talk about the Montgomery GI Bill. We talk about the post-9/11 GI Bill, tuition assistance, which does not come out of GI Bill. It's just free money towards education. We also try to give them, at least I do, what is their plan? Do they want to go to college? If so, what do they want to do? Do they have a specific laid out plan to want to be BSU, in-state, out-of-state, but things that I don't know if counselors touch base on, but what are the graduation rates?
That's what we do. That's what we do. No,
rates,
honestly, you don't have time. So, that's part of the problem with the school counseling system is number one, you're on a teacher's contract, which is silly.
Yeah.
Because really you need to be working a couple nights a week so that parents can come see you. But the sheer numbers.
Yeah.
So you don't have, you can give them the information, but it's really, that's why we have our personalized service and our ultimate programs, because we actually meet with them over the year, minimum 12 times. Usually most of our seniors meet 16 to 20. And we go over all of that. We do that research and the lists. And so that, I love that you're going into classrooms. So talking to them about, because the more kids talk about college and the process, or community college, or doing a trade, or going into tech ed, or going into the military, that is supposed to be the greatest advantage, is more people talking about those pieces.
Well, and I had to write a paper for when I was going to Colorado State about, the question was posed by my instructor, should a high school student go right into college or wait 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or get a secondary education later? And the research I did blew my mind. And this paper's 2 years old, so I don't want to cite the source, but it was $1.6 trillion in current student loan debt.
Oh, yeah.
Current. That's not including the stuff that's in default, in claims. That's like, it's like just over $4 trillion.
Yes. And
and these degrees aren't, they're not STEM fields. If it was STEM fields, I think it'd be a different story, but they're in these English, gender studies, left-handed puppetry. I mean, German polka history. I mean, if you want to get a degree like that because you're interested in it, more power to you. But if you're going to take out $100,000 in student loans for left-handed puppetry, how are you going to pay that back?
Exactly. And what's the, how are you going to be employed?
And that's the only loan you can't default or get into bankruptcy.
No,
that's the only loan that cannot be cleared up through bankruptcy.
The only is if you become disabled in some way, but you have to be very, very disabled.
Yes, or you, heaven forbid, you die.
Right.
That's the only time it's forgiven.
And it will not be passed to any of your relatives, even though they try.
Yeah.
They do try.
Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, what are your thoughts on other countries who have their students, I know when I was in Europe, I lived in Europe for a year, a lot of the young men had to spend 1 to 2 years in the military. So what do you think of that? Because I hear different responses.
I'm split 50-50.
Okay.
I think the upcoming generations would greatly benefit from spending 2 to 3 years active or reserves or anything in the military, because it's going to teach them dedication, discipline, job,
how to get ready. How to pack a bag.
Yeah.
I mean, my son, when he was at boot camp, he's like, people don't know how to iron.
Yeah.
They don't know how to iron. When
I came in, we still had the BDUs. I had to spit shine my boots every night.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It taught you how to appreciate your job. At the same time, the reason we are the best fighting force on the face of this planet is we are all volunteer.
Right.
If I had Joe Snuffy from the Kensington family, who was high-end, well-off, he doesn't want to be there. And in my profession, infantry, I don't want somebody who's supposed to be watching my 6 o'clock who doesn't care.
Yeah.
If
that's what they all say. That's anybody in the military. That's pretty much what they say. But I feel like it would just be a good, I don't know, just 2 years growth, emotional growth, just the whole
getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
That's
and then go to college. And so that's interesting. So tell us, how does someone get a hold of you? Because we always want to know. So how do we get a hold of you? And by the way, he left toys in my office, so it's awesome. We have some really good goodies to give. But how would someone, whether it's a mom, dad, or a student, get a hold of you?
You can go to gourmet.com. It'll has a link there to say find a recruiter. You'll put in your zip code state, and it'll populate our recruiters. Our office number, I can leave some information with you. The office number is area code 208-375-7009.
And as always, we put it in our script. So you just need to look at the script and you'll find the links to Go Army. You'll find his telephone number and his contact information.
Yes, and all we ask is if you do want to set up an appointment, even if you're over 18, bring your parents or your major influencers, because everybody has somebody who knows somebody who was in the military, and the stories may be good or bad, but most of the bad stories are just from someone who didn't do the right thing or something. One of their actions caused a bad reaction. And then we just ask you to bring your ID and your social security card for identification purposes.
Yes.
Let me dispel a rumor or just a bad. You do not enlist in the recruiting office.
Thank you.
You can sign your name until your arm literally falls off. You are not enlisting in the Army in my office.
Right.
Everything done in my office is preparatory only. Yes, it's a 26, 28-page application. We need source documents. It is a process. You enlist at the federal building after you've gone through testing, a physical, and then you sign the contract. So anybody who says that you just go to the office and we black bag you, throw in your bus, and send you to Fort Benning for infantry, that's called kidnapping. It's a federal offense. It's illegal. We cannot do that. So please hope that puts your mind.
I was kind of hoping that I would get thrown in a black bag, and I mean, when I see all the benefits that come from joining the military, just in character as well, that's the number one. But beyond that, great benefits, great health benefits, retirement, all kinds of stuff. I'm jealous.
I think one of the best things, and a lot of kids can't give me an example. I ask them for any example of right out of high school, any job on the face of this planet that the day you fly to basic, your pay starts, you start earning days towards vacation, 2.5 days a month. You qualify as soon as you graduate for tuition assistance. After 1 year of paying in $1,200 total, you're going to get over $71,000 back in education benefits.
I know.
And that's just on the standard GI Bill, not the post 9/11. And I list off everything and I was like, name me one. Dell, HP, Google. No other company is going to train you, pay you, and certify you at the federal level across all jobs.
And give you your insurance immediately.
Oh, yeah.
So one more time, let them know your name, how to get a hold of you, and we'll wrap it up.
My name is Sergeant Jacob Heeren. I'm at the Boise Recruiting Station. Our address is 8269 West Franklin Road. We're next to Cabela's. My cell phone number is 208-724-7965. My phone's normally on until about 7 p.m. every night, except for weekends, because, we've got to spend time with the family. But if you would just like to leave a name or a voicemail or shoot me a text, I will return it first thing Monday morning. The appointments normally last 45 minutes to an hour, and at the end we ask you if you're ready to join. If it's a yes, you make me look like a good recruiter. If it's a no, at least you have the updated information for the benefits that we are offering. And my philosophy is the more knowledge you have, the better your choices and opportunities are for later in life.
Yeah.
So.
And a lot of times I've had students who look into the opportunity and then maybe 3 years later do it. Yep. So what's the oldest that you can join? Because they all have their different age limit, because I'm 57, so I'm too old.
For active duty, you have to be at basic training by your 35th birthday.
Oh,
It used to be 41,
okay.
and then they lowered it.
All right.
For reserves, you have to be able to do 20 years by age 60.
Oh, that's not bad.
So you can be, 38?
Yep.
Almost 40.
Mm-hmm.
So you can enlist in the reserves and be at training by your 40th birthday, and you're fine.
Well, my kids are 31 and 30, so that's not going to happen. So
I still got jobs for them.
Thank you so much. This is Rebecca M. Carroll, and we are going to sign out.